Hey everybody, how are you guys? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in, share this video with people. We got some good stuff to talk about today because we're going to talk about misconceptions of being an empowered stepmother. So I'm going to give you about 25 seconds to welcome people in, other people in. Latravia, hi there. Hi guys, so come on in and let's get this party started. Let's get to talking about some good stuff. If you guys have any questions about misconceptions about being an empowered stepmother or any questions at all about being a stepmother, go ahead and add that stuff to the feed. My wonderful, talented assistant is here today. Ike is here. So he's going to be joining us from the sideline. You want to jump in really quick and say hello to everybody?
Hi, guys.
See, he's right there. So he is right there, but we're going to go ahead and get started. So here we go. This is where I'm going to start with. The number one thing, we have three main topics that we're going to talk about today. But first, I'm going to introduce myself. So, hey guys, I'm Tanisha O. I always have this tea with Tanisha O, but I decided to go live so that you guys can ask questions and be a lot more interactive during these conversations. And so what brought me to an empowered stepmother? Hey, Thea. What brought me to this place in life was I was just tired of being tired in this journey, feeling like I was voiceless and just had absolutely no control over my life. So I made some really specific changes in my life in order to become the happy person that you see me as today, as an empowered stepmother. It took a lot of work, but you know what? It was worth it. My family was worth it. Hey, Ma. And so this is what I'm offering to everyone else in order for you guys to join this journey of being empowered stepmothers as well. So what I'm going to ask is if you could hit your share button and all that good stuff, ask a lot of questions. Let's get this conversation going. And if you guys want to know the first topic that we're going to talk about tonight, put number 1 in there just so that I know you're with me. Put number 1 into the comment section and let's get going and get started on what we have to talk about today. Let's see, Ike, you see any number 1s? Make sure they're still there and we know what's happening.
Okay.
And Trisha, hi Trisha, how are you? Today we are talking about misconceptions of being an empowered stepmother. What does that mean? So let's see, here we go. Our first topic that we're going to talk about is being what I hear, I should say, when it comes to being an empowered stepmother. When it comes to being an empowered stepmother, one of the things that I always hear people saying is being an empowered stepmother sounds good, but it's not realistic. So many times people think that in order to be an empowered stepmother, it's a good thought, but it's not possible. It's kind of like this fairy tale thing that I've made up and it's not really real. Have you guys thought that also, like it's impossible for us to get to this place of peace and harmony? And I do know what it's like to just be in complete pain and agony day in and day out, stressed out about this child and this difficult person that you're dealing with. If you can relate, please put your hand up or something. Let me know that you feel me, because I know that journey. So here we go. It is possible. It's impossible to get along with the ex because she hates me. It's just impossible because things will never be perfect. Well, you know what, guys? You're right. Things won't ever be perfect. If you're going into it thinking that you're waiting for something perfect to happen, this fairy tale life to become a reality, it's not going to happen that way. And so one of the things that supported me was losing my idea of what a perfect expectation of what this picture looked like was. I had to release my own desire to have it be the exact way I wanted it to be. And I had to just be calm and let things play out. I needed to be okay with things being a little bit different. And one of the things that I've learned is like having control over everything it's just this false illusion. Like being in control of everything isn't real. As a matter of fact, I can be my whiteboard right there. I'll read you something off of one of my vision statements that talks about what it means to be in control and how it's a false illusion. So for myself, when it comes to control, I view control as a consistent false illusion of that my way is the best instead of learning and growing through the thoughts of others. So the way that I've gotten over always wanting to be in control is being open to learning and growing to the thoughts of others. Like that was tough for me. Control was a really, really big deal for me. And so expectations when we are in a blended family, especially when we're judging somebody on what they should have done because we're tired. We're constantly picking up the kids. We have to cook for the kids. Maybe the kids live with us like Ike does in our life. Maybe we're upset because the ex has all her freedom, but we're raising these kids. But you know what? We have to lose the idea that we're in control. We can't control anybody else. They're going to do whatever it is that they want to do. And so the sooner I learned to lose this false illusion that my way was the best way, and that it was okay for me to be open to learn and grow from someone else, even if it wasn't the way I would do it, I still allowed myself just to be open to any expectation. And you know what? It unfolded something really, really beautiful in how we co-parent currently. You guys, if you have any questions, welcome to all the people who have joined us. Please go ahead and let me know where you're from. Tell me if you have any questions. Tonight's topic is misconceptions of being an empowered stepmother and what it is to me and what it isn't. The first thing we just went over is people feeling that being an empowered stepmother is something that is unrealistic. It's very realistic as long as we lose our expectations of perfection, whatever perfection is. So, and yes, you know what, Jessica, go ahead and grab your husband, come on over, and you guys can watch this thing together. By all means, I will have my husband. I just asked him tonight if he would join us for some of these. So hopefully we can get Mr. O on some of these with us as well. So number 2, if you're ready for number 2, hit number 2. If you guys have any questions or if you're facing any challenges when it comes to the misconceptions of being an empowered stepmother. And men, you guys can jump in also, you know, if you have questions on behalf of your wife or how to handle being married to a stepmother, let me know. So unrealistic expectations of it sounding perfect, but it's really not perfect. Hey there, Miss Gibbs from Waco, Texas. And you're ready for number 2. So here we go. The next one is being an empowered stepmother makes you weak. I want to wait for a second. How many people believe being an empowered stepmother is going to make you weak? Put your hand up. Let me know if your thoughts of that. I see the hearts coming through. If you think being an empowered stepmother is going to make you weak, kind of like you have to roll over to whatever it is that somebody else wants in order for you to become an empowered stepmother. You don't have your voice in the midst of being an empowered stepmother. How many people think that? When you become an empowered stepmother, it just means that you pretty much lose your whole identity of who you are because you just need to step into what everybody else wants. I can totally understand why that would be a thought, but I'll share something about myself. For those people who know me very, very well, I have a super strong personality. And so being a stepmother and learning how to co-parent with my personality and being open and understanding and basically playing nice, so to speak, wasn't my strongest suit. I wasn't so good at that because I needed to be in control, which was what we just discussed. And I'll read it again. Being control for me, my definition is of control is it's a constant false illusion of my way being the best instead of learning that I am able to learn and grow from others' experiences and thoughts as well. Like my way is not always the best. So that was one of my biggest things that I had. So for myself, I had a super strong personality, very like, this is my way. I don't care what you think. Raise your hand if you're that person. Like, it really didn't matter what you thought. This is how we're going to do it, period. And that was it. And I'm going to tell you what, honestly, as a stepmother, I realized something. Many times we always blame the biological mother. If you're a stepfather on here, you blame the ex-husband. We always blame everyone else for what is going on or not going on, but we fail to take responsibility for what we're doing or not doing. And so I realized my strong personality and not being willing to just kind of give and take in this relationship, in this communication of co-parenting, it wasn't working. I never asked Danielle what she wanted to do because I didn't really care. In my mind, I'm raising this kid. It didn't matter. You gave birth to him and he's in my house. He's on my insurance. I have to cook for him every day. I have to go to all the PTA meetings. I have to go to back to school night. It was me, 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 me. And I never paused long enough to care about her. And she, even though she may not have been there every second and she may not have been doing everything I desired her to do, it wasn't my business to judge her for what she was doing or not doing. That was for her to decide on her own. And so I needed to fall back, and I needed to just focus on what was going to bring the harmony into our home, into our lives. And I had to really, really lay back on being that strong personality, which was not easy for me. So when you think of being an empowered stepmother, and you think that empowered stepmother makes you weak, it actually doesn't make you weak. It made me stronger because I no longer acted like a bully. Like, even though a lot of times it may feel like we're being bullied when it comes to the biological mother, and we might be being bullied, I know that I was doing my own level of bullying as well. I had to just take responsibility for myself. So us learning how to work through our thoughts and how to mingle well with the person that you may not want to be friends with, that's a true level of maturity, because it's for the kids. It's not just for us. It's for the children. So how can we teach them through our actions how to successfully blend and mend and work well together? That's what the true question is. So number 3, if you throw the number 3 in there, please. Number 3, tonight we are talking about misconceptions of an empowered stepmother. Why are there so many misconceptions? That's the thing that I needed to understand, which is what brought us to this place. But one of the things is that being a stepmother is the same for everyone. Have you guys ever noticed that so many times people will share their experiences and they'll say, me too. That's exactly what happened to me. It's exactly the exact same scenario. Anybody heard that? You guys raise your hand. Let me know. Talk to me out there. But I know for me, so many times people were like, that's exactly what happened to me. And I'm sitting there listening. And although I wanted all the pieces to fit in, maybe it wasn't the same. And a lot of times it wasn't, because I'm a biological mother and I might have been talking to a woman who wasn't a biological mother. And maybe I'm a stepmother to one child and they're a stepmother to one child, but that one child only comes once a year at Christmas for 2 days. And I'm a stepmother who has a child who resides in my home. You see, we have similar stories, but our turnout and our dynamics are totally different. And therefore our experiences are totally different. You know, in a case where there's a stepmother who has custody of the husband has custody of a child versus a child that comes maybe every other weekend or different things like that, it's going to be a different dynamic. And so when we are comparing ourselves and being empowered stepmother to everyone having the same story, we should be super careful. Because sometimes we are so hungry to have somebody to share something in common with that we tend to put on their shoes, and their situation isn't the exact same. And so think of it this way. One woman may share her story about how her husband isn't there for her, which will be one of the topics that we discuss. I take that note, husbands not supporting their wives. That might be one of the things that you share. That's fine. But in my case, I had a super supportive husband. So ladies, if you don't have a super supportive husband, we will touch on that topic, but I can't compare my journey of my frustration and being an empowered stepmother to someone who hasn't. So these are the 3 things that are misconceptions. And we're going to do a part 2 tomorrow, focusing more on the children and our role with them as far as misconceptions of empowered stepmothers. But for empowered stepmothers, our first one is being empowered. It sounds good, but it's not realistic. Many times we think that it's just never, ever going to happen, but that's not true. It can totally happen. Why? Because we just have to release our expectations of what perfection looks like. That biological mother may not be the way we want her to be. As a matter of fact, she'll never be the way we want her to be. Danielle is not the way I want her to be. But you know what? It's okay, because she is the way she needs to be. Life is as it should be. And so the number 2 thing that we discussed is being an empowered stepmother makes you weak. You know what? For me, I found that it made me stronger because I learned to not be the bully, because I was being the bully. Even though I played the victim role a lot of times, I was being the bully. I wasn't being as flexible and helpful as I could have been to bringing harmony in the situation. I was just more focused on me, and what I wanted to make me happy, not caring about anyone else. And for stepmothers, I know that you feel this way. And I know in most cases, you are the people who feel like you're being bullied and you're being walked over. And that's why I'd love for you guys to share your questions, share your thoughts, share any of those things so that we can begin to talk through them. Even after this video is over, you can DM me if you want your questions to remain anonymous. I get a lot of those, or on Instagram or Facebook, or just put a question in the comment, any topics you want to hear discussed, or any of those thoughts, even if it's regarding a husband and wife, I can share them with my husband and see if we can get him on here also. And the number 3 thing is, being an empowered stepmother is the same for everyone. It's not the same for everyone. You guys, let's remember, our families are sacred, and it's super important that we guard our families and we respect our families as a sacred entity. So frequently, it makes me sad when I look at Facebook posts and I see different things where people are really airing their dirty laundry for the entire world, talking about kids, rape, molestation, horrible things that are being shared. And you know what? What if those kids get a hold of that information? Did they give you that permission for you to share something that's so personal and so intimate on social media? You know, the accounts are under our names. It's not hard to figure out where people belong in certain places. And, you know, most times this world is small. So somebody sees a name and they're able to know 1 or 2 people away from us. And you're like, yikes. Now you've shared something super personal. And if you're in the middle of a court case or anything like that, those things can be truly damaging. And here you are just venting, and venting can cost you a lot. So you guys, let's respect our sacred family homes and our love for one another, and know that we can be empowered. And any of the misconceptions that we have are exactly that. Those are our thoughts, and they don't necessarily have to be a reality in our life unless we make them that way. So I want to ask you guys, does anybody have questions that are out there? Does anyone have any questions? Here we go. So Miss Gibbs says, I'm not about being in control. I'm about not having control of anything and dealing with the bonus kids. Only the bio mom and dad has a say, so I have to just deal. How do I be empowered when I have no voice? That's a great question. So her question is, in her situation, she doesn't get a say so. It's only the biological mom and the biological dad who get to say everything with the kids, which is a situation that a lot of people run into. How do you deal with that? So I guess my question to you is, do you keep the children all the time? Are the kids ever left with you? If they are left with you, what is the understanding of like, are you disciplining them? And I don't mean physically, but just, you know, if something isn't going right, what is your role in that? One, if that is the case, what is your comfort level with that? You know, as a family, it seems as though we should all be inclusive. In our home, we're all inclusive, but I understand that that's not the reality for everyone else. So one, as a stepmother, first decide where you want to be, because there are some stepmothers that are just not interested in parenting stepchildren. And if that's what you want, then that's okay. But it's important to know that that's what you want, not that's what you want because that's the hand or the cards you've been dealt with in this square over here, but that's really, really what you want. Is that what you want? If you don't want to be bothered with the stepkids and you're okay with just hearing whatever the outcomes are and things of that nature, and you are truly in your heart at peace with that situation, that's okay. But you can't complain about it if you're okay with it. But it's important to be honest with yourself. So I would say start with deciding what role do you desire to play in that, right? That's step one. Step two is, whatever your expectations are they realistic? You know, for us to come in like Superwoman as a stepmother and just want to dive right in and get into everything, that's not a realistic expectation. For me, when I was first, hold on, let's see. We have the children every other weekend. When the kids are here, they are our kids, and we love and have fun together and we're about our business. But when they are with the bio mom, the kids act differently. And that's totally understandable. I've been there. So the first thing that I would say is one, decide what it is that you want to do. Two, love the kids the way you want to, and be you, right? Be you means exactly that. Be you. Don't be who you think they want you to be. Just be yourself. So in my case, when it came to Ike, I had to make a really, really serious decision on what the role was I was going to play. And he was very, very different around his biological mother than he was around me in certain cases. And most times it's because the kids feel stuck. You know, they're not allowed to be free to love who they want to love. And so instead of me always looking for the differences when it came to explaining different things to him, I looked for the things that we shared in common, you know, when it came to his mother, the way she did things. And so we created special things that we did, and that was our thing. What began happening, though, is he would go back to share, oh, guess what we did? We did this. And you know what? And his mom wanted to do it because he talked about how much he loved it. So whatever bonds you share with the children, first things first is just be so grateful that you're able to get along with them. There are some stepmothers that don't get along with their stepkids at all, and they're in complete misery about it. So if they're loving you and they're kind to you, then you know what? You have one step ahead of the game. That's one. Be grateful for what, in my opinion, be grateful for whatever it is that you have with them. Then being different around their mom, ultimately, maybe as they get older, you know, these age appropriate questions of figuring out, even if it's talking to her, I don't know if you have a relationship with her, but finding out what her fears are. For Danielle, her biggest fear was me trying to replace her. And you guys have heard her in their videos saying that. And so I always reminded Danielle as well as Ike what my role was. My role is to just add value. And Ike is literally sitting here shaking his head. Yes, I always reiterated who I am and why I'm here. I'm here to add value. I'm here to add love. I am not here to replace anyone. And it releases the guards. You know, if we're always comparing like what she didn't do right, why I'm better, that adds a lot of tension also. And if we always point out the negative, it kind of stresses the kids as well. Remember something, children are going to get older and they will always be able to see things the way they want to see them and decide what they want to, how they want to take things as they get older. So things are already looking up for you. Me and the kids are good. We get along, and I know they love me as I love them. They are told not to act right with me. They are confused because it takes so much energy to go against me instead of being nice. You know what? On that note, you guys, for all the people that are just joining us today, we're talking about misconceptions of being an empowered stepmother. And right now, somebody from Instagram is sharing her issues with her not being able to pretty much love her stepchildren the way she wants to consistently. The kids are in confusion because they're not free to love the way they want to. So I'm going to read your question one more time. And since we have a stepchild here, even though this is my baby and he's not my stepchild, I'm just saying that for the people who aren't familiar with how we speak in our home, I'm going to let him answer that question because we went through that exact same thing where he was being taught to misbehave and do all those things. So I'm going to read the question one more time. Me and the kids are good. We get along and I know they love me as I love them. They are told to not act right with me and they're confused because it takes so much energy to go against me instead of just being nice. What advice would you offer her with what she's dealing with? And you heard the other things that she was sharing, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what advice, come a little bit closer to me, my love. I'm going to get him into this. Just come sit right here with me. He's going to come in the screen. My assistant's coming on in here. Come on in there too, my love. There you go. So what advice would you give her, sweetie?
I would just say to make sure that
one. It's okay. If you can't read it. I just want your face.
I would say just to make sure that the kids are just loving you the same, because I understand that
from a kid's perspective. From a child's perspective, they're being told to misbehave. What type of conversation would you wish, or did I have with you when I noticed that you were misbehaving? What were some of the key things that I said to you? And I know I just put you on the spot because he wasn't planning on being on this tonight. But what were some of the key things that I said to you that helped you feel empowered to be able to speak up and feel free?
You told me to just love everyone the same, and you also told me to not compare. And even with this, I went to mommy and I told her that what I was doing wasn't the right thing because it wasn't helping me.
So you
And
called her out on her asking you to misbehave.
yes,
And I remember us having conversations where I said, I noticed that you're behaving differently. Why is that? What is causing that? So have you asked them why their behavior shifts or why it's different? And if so, if the children are the people who told you that their mother is telling them to misbehave, has your husband had those conversations with them about it? And while she's waiting, let me just check over there. Go ahead and step over there. Thank you, baby. Have your husbands had those conversations? I'm going to shift over. Thea says, I see why people would think that. Why ask for the outside input? Oh, love, I'm so sorry. I'm slow on the scroll. We have to keep up with the scroll right here. Yes, and they told me what was said. Okay, so here's the thing. These are adult situations. Welcome, guys. If you're just joining us, we're talking about misconceptions of being empowered stepmother. And there's a parent right now who is sharing what she has going on is her children, the children misbehaving. Her husband and the biological mother are the only two people who communicate. And I know that there are people who feel that that's great. And there's nothing wrong with that. In this particular case, I will share with anyone listening, I do not agree with any people who are telling people you need to tell them this. If your neck needs to roll, basically, when you're trying to tell someone or share something, you can't control adults. These are adults. So trying to force feed somebody, trying to make somebody do something, that doesn't work. So if that's the type of advice you're looking for, I don't give advice that way because we can't control anyone else. So this is an adult conversation that I think you would do a great job with speaking to your husband. If you and your husband are on the same page, first off, and he doesn't want to shake up the boat. Okay, so now I understand. Hold on, my love. So now, guys, now we're getting to the root of what's really going on. The children, and Ike is shaking his head, yes, also. The children are in the midst of all of this confusion. The stepmother is feeling the pain, and one of the biggest reasons they're feeling the pain is because her husband refuses to step up to rock the boat. So the confusion persists and everything keeps happening because he doesn't want to speak up. And believe it or not, that's one of the biggest reasons why this issue continues. So in my case, I will tell anyone who's willing to listen, the reason why I'm able to be an empowered stepmother is because my husband always speaks up. He did not allow any of the unnecessary nonsense to go on. He was very clear on how things needed to be as far as our home was concerned. And if you weren't willing to abide by those things, then no. So in order for us to be empowered, because the reality is we aren't the biological mother, and somebody else did give birth to them, and they don't have to communicate with us. I know that my situation, for those who don't know, I was the person, the point of contact with Ike's biological mother because my husband stopped speaking to her. But that was after restraining orders and all kind of stuff happened. So I understand that that's not the norm. However, it takes the man to step in because the bottom line is this: their relationship didn't work. And now is our marriage going to come to an end because you're not willing to put your foot down to gain clarity on how things need to be? Boundaries have to be set. There has to be boundaries for how your home is run and how other things are run. So with us, with Ike, I was always clear. This is how I do it with mommy. And I always said, that's okay. But sweetie, when you're here, we have to do it this way. This is the way we do things here. These are our rules. Kids are very smart. And I know that there were a lot of things that were very confusing. But when you set up what your boundaries are and your rules of engagement, people and children, they respond, if they want things to go smoothly. Yes, he has, and he doesn't want to shake. Okay. So that's my advice to you is one, if you don't have a copy of my book, I give really, really good, clear illustrations and specific steps and strategies on how to begin to communicate with your husband, because the concern and the issue that you're having right now isn't about the biological mother. It's actually within your marriage. And that's the hard truth. It's between you and your husband, because the boundaries haven't been set on what the expectation is within your marriage when it comes to being parents. Even though you are a stepmother, you're still a mother in the home, and you're still expected to love the children. You're expected to make sure they're comfortable and they feel welcome, but you aren't receiving that same love and appreciation reciprocated. And you can't force anybody to do it, but it's not unrealistic for you to want that. And so start with their marriage first, having a conversation with them. Oh, hey there. Okay, good. So you're already reading the book. Awesome. So you're one of the winners. Congratulations, doll. So you have the book. Great. So I'm excited to see how that's going to shift and alter for you. It feels good to be able to relate to someone. Yes. So anybody else have any other questions? I want to be very, very super, super clear as we close out, if there aren't any other people. When it comes to the misconceptions of being an empowered stepmother, one of the biggest things is you have to be on the same page with your husband. For some reason, people, and I've heard people say this, well, that's his family, that's his life before me, and so it has nothing to do with me. But when there are children coming in your home day in and day out, if those children don't impact anything that you do, you don't cross their paths at any given time, you don't have to worry about them, you don't have to cook for them, you don't have to ask them to pick up a sock or do any of those things. Maybe if that's the way you plan to organize your family, by way of just not talking to them or kind of ignoring them as a separate entity, then great. But if you really plan on successfully blending your family, it's going to start with you and your husband getting on the same page to have a very clear understanding of what your family normal is. Because see, your normal is not the normal everyone else has in their home. Because I'm going to tell you what, people have all these things to say about blended families being so tough and they're so difficult. I know some of the most dysfunctional families are husband and wives who are married and they raised all of their children under the same home. They have the same, if not more, dysfunction than people who didn't. You know, I was a single mother who grew up raising my kids. And in some cases, my kids may have had a little bit more peace in their life because they didn't grow up with a bunch of bickering and fighting. Now they had their own set of things, you know, life that happened because they didn't have their dad in their home. And I don't wish that on anyone. So please don't take this out of context. But they didn't have that fighting, you know, of parents, that thing where, you know, don't tell your dad, don't tell your mom, all these little secrets and things that we do within our family unit. So dysfunction is dysfunction, whether you gave birth, whether you didn't. We still get to set boundaries, set rules of engagement if you want things to be smooth and harmonious in the process. If there are no more questions, I will be back tomorrow again. Tomorrow, we're going to tackle misconceptions of being an empowered stepmother. And we are going to deal with talking about children and things like that. If you guys don't have a copy of this book, get a copy of this book. It's a super good book. Not because I wrote it, which I did, but not just because I wrote it, but it's an awesome book because there's a lot of tools and tricks and strategies on learning to communicate with your husband when it comes to your stepchildren, how to work through your own stuff. Because we bring a lot of stuff in our baggage of life to this party, to this journey, and we most times don't want to be accountable for our part in a situation. So if it takes a lot of neck rolling while you're talking and you're always talking about all of the horrible things that biological mother is or isn't, you may want to look at yourself as well, because if you're trying to get to a place of harmony and you refuse to come to any level of accountability for your action, you won't get to a place of harmony. That's the truth. In order for us to grow, glow, and thrive harmoniously in our blended families, it takes us doing something different. We get to go through this journey differently in order for us to find a level of peace. So I will leave you guys with this. It's super important for us not to compare our weaknesses to someone else's strengths. You know, a lot of people, I'll hear them say, oh my gosh, you make this look so easy and it can't be that easy. It isn't that easy. I'm 11 years into this journey. 11 years. And I know some of you guys are like, please, Tanisha, I'm not waiting 11 years. That's impossible. I get it. But it's 11 years that we've been going through this and growing through this together. So this is not an overnight process. It takes time to build relationships with children. It takes time to build relationships, even in your marriage, even when you're working with somebody who didn't invite you into their life, like a biological mother. It takes time. So when you're looking at these different things, please don't compare your weaknesses to my strengths, just as I don't want to compare my weaknesses to your strengths. I'm still growing every single day. I'm still learning every single day. I'm still getting better every single day. Every day there's something new that I'm learning about this blended family journey. I haven't perfected it. I'm just sharing my journey with you, but things have gotten a lot better. So that's all I got for you guys today. Misconceptions of an empowered stepmother is that being an empowered stepmother sounds great, but it's not realistic. It's whatever you say it is. If you say it's not realistic to be in harmony, then guess what? You're 100% right. But if you're committed to grow, glow, and thrive in your blended family, you absolutely can with very specific strategic steps. Another step, number 2, is being an empowered stepmother makes you weak. It doesn't make you weak. You're not rolling over to just give everything. We're learning how to be adults and how to teach our children through our actions, how to communicate, how to respond, how to behave without being bullies and just our way is the only way. Once again, going back to that thing I shared on my interpretation of control is my consistent false illusion that my way is the best way instead of learning and growing through the thoughts of others. I've decided to trade in my desire to be in constant control. And now I'm just open up to learning and growing through the thoughts of other people. It doesn't mean I have to change every thought of mine, but it does mean that I'm open to growing. And that's what life is all about as we continue to evolve. Number 3, and the last one, is being an empowered stepmother is the same for everyone. Be very careful, guys. Do not compare your story to everyone else's story. All of our baggages of life are packed differently. Just because I'm a stepmother and you're a stepmother and we both have one stepchild, our reality of being a stepmother is different if I'm a biological mother and you're not. If I have a supportive husband and you don't. If you have a biological mother who is very friendly to you and I don't. Our outcomes are still very different, not to mention our own personal baggage that we bring into the party and everyone else. So you know what? From our family to yours, we love you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. If you guys were a little bit shy, you didn't want to put your questions in here, go ahead and send me a direct message or DM. For anyone who's already done it, you guys know that I definitely respond. Get a copy of your book if you don't have it. And for all the stepmothers that are on there, I now have a special sacred place for us. It's only for us. It's only for stepmothers, the Empowered Stepmother Private Group. So find that Empowered Stepmother Private Group on Facebook. If you can't find it, shoot me a message. I'll help you locate it and join that group. Share with your friends if you're not a stepmother. Husbands, share that with your wives, and so that we can talk candidly and begin to grow our community of building our harmony. So our family to yours, we love you. We'll talk to you soon. Ciao.